given it enough time to get started.
Okay.
So hey everybody, welcome. I'm Sophia. We have with us Josue, also known as JQ, Quinones. Amy says hi in the chat. She's on the phone with a student right now. But yes, we're very excited to have you here today, JQ. So I'm just gonna let you take it from here.
Yeah. So welcome everybody. Glad that y'all can have us have me here and let me join y'all, share some time, energy, and space with y'all. If it's cool, I want to start with something a little different. Is that cool? Some folks give me a thumbs up. Put it in the chat. If it's cool, I want to share something with y'all. And if that's okay with y'all, just let me know. Okay, I got thumbs up. I get some thumbs up. All right, cool. So we gonna start with something like this. Y'all can hear my audio? Okay, good. All right. I want to welcome you all to self-care. See, the idea behind self-care is to do something good for yourself, something to work through your challenges, something to work through your emotions. Self-care is a way for you to release and express yourself, right? It's something that you do that's personal and intimate. And, as of late, if I'm being honest, I kind of just find myself, sitting at home, trying to figure out what to do with all these emotions. Cause I'm all alone, going through the motions. And it don't feel right, cause I just feel like consuming all of the potions. Dove head first into the water, feeling out of order. Now I'm in deep and it feels like I'm just swimming through all of the oceans. Trying hard to hold them in, but it seems like how I feel, all of them showing. And I know if I don't let go, then the pain won't go. It'll only keep growing. And it's only so long I can really hold on before the tears start flowing. No matter how much I try to control it, I can wipe them away, but they just keep rolling down the side of my face. Cause I'm feeling out of place in this race called life. All these thoughts in my mind keep me up all night. Feels like I'm wasting time as the days go by. All I wanna do is to do things right, but I'm up against myself, and when that's the case, it's a real hard fight. So I'm looking for the light. Engage in self-care. Yeah. So like I said, thank you. I see the claps. Okay. Thank you. I want to welcome you all to self-care. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to share some time and some energy with you. Thank you for the applause. I appreciate the applause and the reactions. Like I said, this is going to be interactive. I don't want this to be me talking at y'all. I want this to be us engaging and talking, because self-care is a real deep topic, and we're going to dive right into that. So, again, if you feel comfortable, feel free to, show your camera, show your video. We're not going to judge your background. We don't care where you are. We just want to be present with you. And if not, I'm going to ask you to engage in the chat, and feel free to converse with us or engage with us in the chat. But like Sophia said, my name's Josue Quinones. Many of my friends, my colleagues, and my students call me JQ. You can certainly feel free to call me that too. And today we're going to talk about self-care, what that means, and we're going to dive real deep into it, as deep as we can within the time that we have here today. But before I start with that, I want to do an activity. All right, I want to get folks a little engaged, right? We're gonna interact. We're gonna start to get to know each other a little bit more. And so what we're gonna do is called the emotional traffic light activity. Has anybody ever heard of that? Put it in the chat. Have you ever heard of the emotional traffic light activity? Or give me a thumbs down. I won't get offended. You also give me a thumbs down. All right, so we got a couple no's. Oh, I didn't see that reaction. They got the X with the no on it. I like that. Okay, so all right, so folks aren't familiar. Good, perfect. So essentially, the way that the emotional traffic light activity works is you think of a traffic light, right? Traffic light has three colors. It has red, has yellow, and then it has green. Red means stop. Yellow means proceed with caution. For some people, that means speed up, but that's really not what it means. It means proceed with caution. And then there's green, which is everything's good, everything's a go. So as we think about the idea of self-care, one of the things that I think is important for us to understand is where we currently are mentally, emotionally, and maybe even spiritually, right? So if we think about this traffic light and use it as a representation for where we are currently, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, which color would you choose? Right? Red would mean, I'm really down. It's really hard for me right now. I'm not necessarily in the best of spirits. I'm struggling a bit. Yellow would be like, I'm kind of in between. I'm okay. There's some things that probably could be a little bit better, but there are some things that are positive, and that feel good right now. And then green is like, I'm good. I'm happy. Like, I'm good. I just copped a new pair of J's. I just won the lotto. Or I just got some really great news from somebody. And I will say, you could feel free to deviate. Some people will say I'm orange, or I'm green with yellow polka dots, or they get creative with it. So feel free to unmute yourself. You can I'm not going to select you, but you can feel free to unmute yourself and just share everyone your name, perhaps your emotional traffic light color that you would give, and then what year are you? Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior? Because I'm not sure the demographic we have here. So feel free, put it in the chat or unmute yourself and share with us.
Hi, I'm
Hi,
Sage. I'm a senior.
Okay.
I definitely feel like in this moment I'm like an orange because I'm doing fairly well, but there are definitely things that are like happening in my life right now, like that I'm struggling with.
Okay.
So I'd say I'm a solid orange.
Okay. And if it's okay, what are some of those things you feel like you're wrestling with?
So I just recently moved out of my house, and so I've been jumping from house to house, staying with family and friends and stuff. And so like that's definitely been an interesting part of my senior year. But at the same time, like I just got a bank account yesterday, and today like went in and like got it like approved and all this stuff. So that was super exciting. And I'm getting acceptance letters, so like those are all great things. So those are like the good things, but sometimes like obviously when you're in a rough position, all those good things become like it's okay, but like there's still stuff going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hear you. And first and foremost, thank you for being transparent, honest, and for sharing, because I do understand that sometimes it's hard, right, to share with folks what's going on. But good for you. Congratulations on the bank account, and some of those acceptance letters that you got going. And hopefully, this time can help us give you some tools maybe to help navigate some of those challenges that you have going on. So thank you again, Sage. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Morgan, she's a freshman, and she says she's in green. Just have a really good day, and everything is going really good. That's awesome, Morgan. Glad. Thank you for sharing. Glad that you're in a good space. I don't know what the weather like is where you at, but where I'm at, it's nice. The sky's kind of clear, so that helps too, right? That helps create a good spirit. Anyone else? Yes. Thank you, Morgan. Anyone else? If you had to think of an emotional traffic light, right? If you had to think of traffic light color to kind of represent where you are right now, mentally, emotionally, where would you say? Is it Riley? Did I pronounce that correctly? Riley says they're a freshman, and they're in the yellow. Okay. So Riley, if you don't mind, could you share a little bit about, why you're in the yellow with us today?
Just like things are a little chaotic, I guess, at the moment. Like they're not like completely like, oh, everything's perfect, but at the same time, it's okay.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Let's get a few more.
Hi.
Tell us your name, tell us your year, and what color would you select?
I'm Nevaeh. I'm a junior. I'm yellow.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about why you picked yellow.
Just recently I lost my cousin. And 2 days ago, it was his memorial.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty big. That would put me in either a yellow and maybe even a red, assuming that you were close to your cousin. So thank you for sharing that, and hopefully I pray that you and your family can find some healing and some strength around this time. So thank you for sharing that, Nevaeh.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll get one more. Oh, we got Selena. Selena's a junior, and my color just depends on the day. Absolutely. So I love the fact that you said that, Selena, because it's true, right? Today we could be yellow, tomorrow we could be green. It could change sometimes within time frame. Like within this hour, I could be in the yellow, and then an hour from now, 15 minutes from now, it could be green, or it could be red, or it could be, a mix of the two. It could be orange. So absolutely, absolutely. So thank you all for sharing that, and part of the reason why I do that activity is, again, because I think when we talk about self-care, I want us to first get a pulse and an understanding of where we are in this present moment, because that's what's going to help us moving forward as we go through this session. So I want to pose a question. When folks hear the words self-care, right? When you hear those words, what's the first thing that kind of jumps into mind? Feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself and share it with the group. Sophia says self-care is the best care. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Absolutely. And if she's heard my album, so that's like the recurring message. So it makes sense. But yes, so what else? What comes to mind when you hear the words self-care? Self-care is a must, Amy says. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. What else? What else comes to mind for folks as they hear the word self-care? Taking care of yourself, Morgan says. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more, Morgan, about when you say taking care of yourself, what does that look like? This meeting, Nevaeh says. Great. I'm glad that we just, only a couple minutes in and you already feel like this is helping you. So, I'm glad. I'm gonna be honest and say that I struggle to say your name. Is it Nija? Is it Nija?
It's Naija.
It is Naija.
Yeah.
Naija. Okay. So Naija says self-care should be your number one priority. Absolutely. Self-care is important when feeling overwhelmed. Absolutely. Taking care of your mind and your body. Sage says she thinks about physical things such as meditation and yoga. Daniel, sorry. Oh, that's all right, Daniel. No worries. Is it Danielle or Danielle? Sometimes I never know. Want to make sure I clarify.
It's Daniel.
Daniel, all right. Just want to make sure. Thank you. Okay, so we got taking care of your mind and your body. We got meditation and yoga. We said it should be a number one priority. What else? What else sort of comes to mind? Are there examples that other people hear? Selena says hygiene. Yes, absolutely. What are some other ideas or examples that come to mind when you hear self-care? Okay, Sage says journaling. Yes, absolutely. Journaling is a form of self-care. Doing something strictly for yourself. Okay, now it just says music. Yes, absolutely. Music can be a form of self-care. It is for me, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So okay. Nobody wrote getting a massage, going to a spa. Nobody wrote getting your nails done or getting your hair did. Nobody wrote that. I'm surprised. But those are some of the examples that I'll typically get or sometimes get from folks, right? And so yes, those are all great examples, right? Meditation and yoga is one that was brought up. Music is therapeutic, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Journaling, hygiene, right? Taking a shower, making sure you put some deodorant on and clean your fingernails and trim your fingernails, right? Just little things like that. Washing your hair, taking care of your mind and your body, eating well. I don't think anyone necessarily put that directly, right? But eating well. So what you put into your body when you eat. Folks wrote it's a must priority. Absolutely. So, and those are great answers, right? Some people exercise, right? Going to the gym, playing sports, socializing with people or talking with someone, right? Those are all different forms of self-care. And so what I want to do is taking those things is kind of shift gears a little bit, right? Because oftentimes self-care is used as a buzzword, especially within the last, I don't know how many years, within the last couple of years, self-care has, at least from my perspective and what I've seen, is that it's become a big buzzword and this big thing. And not that it isn't important, but I think it's crucial for us to kind of understand what's really at the root of it. And that's kind of what I want to dive into with you all today, right? So when we think about self-care as it pertains to music and journaling and hygiene and all these different things, right? At the root of it is us, right? We're at the root of it. We're at the core of that. And what these things are, the hygiene, the journaling, the music, the yoga, the meditation, those are tools that are, or they should be used as tools, I'll say. They should be used as tools that will help us to do the internal work that truly embodies self-care, or what self-care really is, right? When we think about self-care, it's about helping yourself to heal. It's about helping yourself to feel better, to find balance, to perhaps cope or make sense of things in a way, right? So that's really what self-care is at the core of it, right? We just use journaling or music. Hygiene is kind of both, right? That one's a little, it's kind of both. You should be showering, right? But it also plays into how you feel emotionally and spiritually. Sometimes you wash negativity or bad experiences off, right? Or going to the gym or things like that, getting your nails done or going to a spa. Those are all tools that should be used to help us really dig in deep and say, what's happening for me right now? You know, I know this tool is helping me in this moment, but what is it really helping me with? Right. And so that's kind of what I wanted us to really think about as we talk about this idea around self-care, right? And so when we think about it, every one of us in some way, shape, or form has a core struggle, right? That we kind of navigate with, right? And regardless of whether we acknowledge it or not, that thing shows up in every aspect of our life, right? When we talk about self-care, the core of self-care is the self, right? That's the first word in that phrase, is self. And so it's important that we understand ourselves and our stories in order to really understand what our struggles look like and how they impact us in everyday life, right? Because from my work with students and in the work that I've done just educationally, but as a counselor in the past, is I've noticed that each and every one of us has somewhat of a struggle that we carry with us in everyday life, right? It shows up at work. It shows up with friends. It shows up with family. It shows up in intimate relationships if we got a little boo thing or whatever, right? And it shows up in the classroom, believe it or not. And so if we don't understand what's at the root of that, right, then we really don't know what we're up against, right? And it'll look different. It'll look different with your friends. It'll look different with your family. It'll look different, but at the core of it, you're still there, and whatever core struggle you have is still there, right? And so I think it's important for us to understand that. And so one of the things that I want to transition into right now is thinking about our life stories, right? Because our life stories are what shape how we view the world. They shape how we interact in the world. It shape how we walk through the world. It shapes how we think, right? And it shapes how we feel and what we feel to some degree. And so I want to transition into an activity to kind of help us to begin some of that work in terms of taking a look at our stories, our life stories, and what has shaped who we are today. Is that cool? Is that cool? Can I get a thumbs up? Put in the chat. Yeah, that's cool. Let's do that. I'm curious. Let me know. All right, I got a thumbs up from Morgan. I got a thumbs up from Frederick. I got a yes from Sage. I like these new things. I always thought it was just thumbs up, thumbs down, and claps, but we got new ones here. Okay, Nevaeh. Oh, she got the Naisha got the celebration and then the thumbs up. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. If you can, I want you to grab something to write with. If you can, just like a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, and a pen, a pencil, crayon, a marker, out of whatever you can. Or if not, if you can't grab something quick enough, maybe open up, if you have a smartphone, open up a notes app in your phone. And we could certainly use that. And then once you've got it, just give me a thumbs up again and let me know that you're ready to go. All right, we got some thumbs up. All right, cool. So while other folks are grabbing something to write with or preparing themselves, I'm gonna walk through this activity. So what this is called the lifeline activity. Anybody ever heard of it or done it? Thumbs up. No, yes. I see some head shaking. Okay. So what we're gonna do is called the lifeline activity. So what I want you to do is, once you have, if you're using a piece of paper and a writing utensil, I want you to hold your paper horizontal, right? This is horizontal. This is vertical. I think this is horizontal. Hold your paper horizontally, flat on the desk or on whatever, surface you're using. And I want you to draw a line in the middle of that page from one end to the other. Okay. Don't worry about how straight your line is. Nobody's going to judge your line. I can't draw straight lines, but just draw a line. All right. Don't worry about how straight it is. So you draw one across. If you're not using a paper and writing utensil and you're just doing it on your phone, don't worry about the line. You could still do the next step. So this line that's on this page is considered your lifeline. Think of it as your life's timeline. So as I said, part of self-care is understanding our life story, understanding what has shaped who we are, what has shaped the way that we look at the world, the way that we function in the world, the way that we feel, and who we are at our core. So what I want you to do on this line, I'll give about 5 minutes or so, maybe a little more than 5 minutes. I want you to outline different moments in your life that have been truly significant and impactful for you, right? And that you feel has shaped who you are. It could be the ups, it could be the downs, it could be the all arounds and the in-betweens, right? You can write a specific, word that makes you think of that memory. You could write a specific date, anything that's going to help you to remember these different moments in your life. I want you to go as far back as you can possibly remember. Start with whatever comes to mind first. And you can project as far into the future as you would like. Okay. Is that clear? Did folks have any questions about what we're doing? No, we're good. Okay. So I'm going to give about 5 or so minutes, maybe a little bit more than 5 minutes. And I want y'all to do that. Just outline different moments, times, events, significant dates, ups, downs, all arounds that have really shaped who you are, the way you look at the world, and the way you think, and the way you feel. And I'll play some music in the background, so it's not just this awkward silence. And then we'll come back and share a little bit. All right, sound good? I got some thumbs up. All right, cool.
Sometimes your passion comes from your pain and your purpose too. Looking for passion, searching through the pain, recounting stories of where my mama told me how she gave me my name. Feeling crazy cause as I listen I can't help but think about how Damn, mine's one and the same, which to me's insane. Who would've thought I'd live up to it? Find myself at a wall and use my voice to walk through it. Never thought I'd step up to a mic scared as hell, but still have enough courage and guts to talk to it. Now here I am delivering all these words through my passion, sharing my life with you. Pray the flow's not too distracting, just trying to paint these pictures of hope you can imagine. Sharing some stories of my struggles to show you compassion. No, you're not alone, cause every one of us travels with baggage. Some of us never check it, that can turn out to be tragic. Now in flight you trying to fight, but frozen from all the damage. I pray one day you get saved. Eliminate your pain through passion, cause pain is one and the same as you living your purpose. It's just a part of life, so don't let that make you nervous. Not everyone's gonna like what you put out, but you keep working, cause if you silence yourself, you're the only one that'll be hurting. It's truly a disservice and experience I hope you never go through, but if you do, you grow through, cause truthfully, that's how it's supposed to be. When you feel complete, doing something healthy, when you feel empty and you need to release to be at peace. Sheesh. Passion, painful, purpose. Passion, painful, purpose. Passion, painful, purpose. Passion, painful, purpose. Looking for purpose, searching through the pain, recounting moments when I didn't feel worth it. Instead I felt ashamed, trying my hardest to be perfect, knowing that's insane, but shooting for it, hoping one day I'll get rid of this pain. Trying so hard just to run away, cause I'm too scared to stay. Don't wanna relive them days, thought it was just a phase, but I still feel the same. Don't wanna feel it or reveal it, but somehow expect to heal it. And now I gotta deal with all these things I've been repressing. They constantly got me stressing, raise all these doubts and these questions. Could lead to a deep depression, uncontrollable aggression, when all along all they ever really wanted was expression. Never saw them as a blessing, a way I could teach some lessons, turn it into a profession, one that might include some helping. Took some time to pay attention, some help with redirection, and digging deep to explore what for so long I've been suppressing. Passion, painful, purpose. Passion, painful, purpose. Passion, painful, purpose. Passion, painful, purpose. Had some questions to determine if this pain was for a purpose. Was it worth it? Wondering if it was something about me that made me earn it. Did I deserve it? Or is it curses? Is this working? It gets disturbing. Maybe I should turn the verses from the scriptures in the churches to see what emerges. Kill these urges cause it's urgent. Sought assistance for myself to better help those that are hurting. That's one example of turning something painful to purpose. Nothing's guaranteed to ever be pain free, and the very things you fear, the very things you will see. Snakes and enemies, praise turn jealousy, trying to stop you in your tracks when all you want is to succeed. Tell you that you're at a loss, talent ain't what you thought, message ain't worth the cost. KI with the double cross, it's a sport. Thought you had support, now it's only you in the court. Pain in your veins, but trust that your purpose still the same.
So how folks doing? We doing good? Do we need a little bit more time? I can give a couple more minutes if we need some time. Okay, Sage says she's good. Okay. All right, Morgan's good. She's got a thumbs up. All right, Nevaeh says she's done. All right. So anybody need more time? Does anybody need a little bit more time? Would like to write a little bit more? Okay, done. All right. Cool. So for the most part, folks are done, finished. All right, cool. So at this point, what I would like to do is to invite folks to sort of share, what were there any particular moments that perhaps stood out for you that maybe you hadn't thought about in a while? What kind of emotions or maybe feelings came up as you recounted some of these moments in your life? Just sort of, share with the group what was this like for you to kind of outline these different things in your life. And again, you can feel free to unmute yourself and share that with the group, or you could put it in the chat and we'll share that. Nobody, nothing came up. You can feel free to just share like what you outlined, some of the things that you wrote down.
I'll share.
Yes. Thank you,
mine
Sage.
mine is pretty long, but it's not like too bad. It's just a lot of information packed on a page.
That's okay.
Here, wait. Maybe I can just flip my thing. So this is what mine looks like. You can't read it probably.
That's
but
okay.
I said that I was born in 2003. And from 2003 to 2006, I moved around a lot. And I finally moved to JC in 2006. So that's like a big moment for me because that's where I like grew up the rest of my life. In 2009, my mom passed away.
Wow.
And then I didn't have anything really else like after that until 2016, when I came out to my family as bisexual.
Okay.
And then also in 2016, I came out to my family. I had been sexually abused, so I came out to my family about that.
Wow. Yeah.
And then in 2017, my little sister was born, and her mom left, so I ended up raising her. And in 2019, my family had a big setback financially, so I was moving back and forth between families. So I wasn't with my little sister at that point, and that was a really like rough time for me. And then in 2020, I was back with my dad and my sister, and I met my boyfriend, who I am still with, and he is definitely a big part of my life now. And then also in 2020, I moved out of my dad's house, and this year I plan to graduate and go to college for social work, and in 5 years, hopefully, I graduate with my master's.
Nice. Good. So yeah, that was a pretty good full picture, I would say. And I can't even say full because I'm sure there's more than what you were able to fit or put on the page. But first and foremost, I actually want to thank you for sharing that and being honest. Again, it's not one of the things that I think is crucial, and I'll share this, is that part of self-care is also being able to share ourselves, right? Because oftentimes when we think about the things that have impacted us or the things that do shape us, we often can sometimes be made to feel or think that we're the only ones that understand and that others won't ever understand. And so we kind of keep it to ourselves, or we think that, it's going to change the way people look at me, if they know all these things about me. And we usually think it's a negative thing, but most of the time it's actually a good thing, right? When we understand that we're not alone in some of our struggles, when we understand that, what we've been through, we're not the only ones, right? And so I want to commend you, Sage. I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing some of those things, because from what I heard, a lot of those things I'm sure have impacted you in a variety of different ways. But look at you, you're still here today, and you're moving forward despite those things. And some of those things probably have strengthened you in ways that you haven't necessarily realized yet, or may have to some extent. So thank you. I appreciate that. Any like, because you kind of went through it, any emotions came up while you were doing those things or writing them down?
I mean, so I'm very open about like most things in my life. As long as people like ask the right questions, I'm always honest. So like at this point, just writing things down, like, because I've always been like a writer. I always journal. I do stuff like that.
Nice.
So at this point, whenever I talk about certain things that happen in my life, I just get kind of like antsy, just because like there's always that little anxiety that's inside that like, even though I've accepted everything that's happened in my life, like there's still that like those moments where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna talk about it again. Like, I mean, at this point, I've definitely come to terms with everything that's happened in my life, because it definitely has made me a stronger person, and I respect myself a lot more for being able to talk about it. And like all the people that I hear stories from, and their life stories, like I'm like, wow, like it's super similar. Or, oh wow, it could always be worse, So yeah, that's how I felt doing it.
Yeah, no, good. Again, I appreciate you sharing that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to get Morgan wrote in the chat, getting mad fun the whole time in my last relationship and making me feel down, but now in my new relationship, I love myself and I don't feel sad. Oh, getting made fun of, is that what you meant, Morgan? I'm assuming that's what you meant. Getting made fun of the whole time in your last relationship. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay. So that was one of the things that you pointed out, that sort of stood out to you as you were doing this lifeline activity. Absolutely. Right. So that is something that can shape us, being in a relationship and relationship could be with an intimate partner or even just a friend or even with family members. Right. And that being something that happens constantly, that begins to shape how you view yourself. Right. And thinking, look, I'll be honest, for me, right. And part of why this work is so important for me is because that's kind of how it was for me growing up. Right. Growing up, I struggled to find where I belonged. I was oftentimes questioned for my own identity as a man, right? And I didn't live up to the expectations that people thought I should, right? And I was considered soft and I was considered too emotional, or because I was scared and afraid of certain things, I wasn't tough and I wasn't man enough, kind of thing. And so often I even got labeled as being I don't even want to say the word because they're not good words, right? But I often felt labeled as something other than what I was or what I identified as or felt that I was. And it made me question myself. It made me question who I was. It made me question my worth. It made me question, whether people would like me, people would accept me. How do I get people to like me? How do I get people to accept me, kind of thing, right? And I never really fully understood that until later in life. And so a lot of my decisions in high school, well, started in elementary school, but through high school, and even when I went on to college, were made from that sort of place. This place of, I want people to like me. I want people to think I'm cool. I don't want people to think that I'm all these other things that they've labeled me as before, right? And so that led to a lot of poor decisions. If I'm being honest, I'm trying to skip some of the story because I don't want to take up all the time, right? But at the core of it was this sense of low self-worth that was based and rooted in how other people responded to me and what they said to me. I gave them that power, right? And I struggled to find my own voice and I struggled to find myself because I was too busy trying to please other people, right? But it wasn't until I began to notice that and until that started to confront me at the workplace, right? When it started to confront me in relationships, right? Where I felt like I was taken advantage of, right? Or friendships where I felt like I was taken advantage of to some degree, that I started to really realize, like, hold up, I'm giving away too much, right? I'm giving other people too much power. And so Morgan, I thank you for sharing that. But yes, it's important. And that's why I'm so passionate about us really doing the self-care and understanding ourselves, is because sometimes we're not satisfied with ourselves or with our life or what have you, or with relationships or what have you, because we haven't really figured out what's really driving us, right? We haven't figured out what's at our core. Who are we really, right? And is that us, or is that other voices that have, been told to us or planted to us? Right? Because a lot of us, we didn't ask to be here, and so we're to some extent a product of our circumstances. But how do we understand the ways in which those things have shaped us, for good and bad, right? Because I'm sure there's good in it, but there's also some things that maybe aren't so good. So how do we navigate that? Anyone else want to share what, sort of stuck out as they were writing their life timeline, or any emotions that sort of stood out? And thank you again to Sage and Morgan. Nevaeh, I went from a school that was very good for my education wise to a school that was very bad for me, then started going to another school that helped me since I struggle in school. Okay, Nevaeh, could if it's okay, Nevaeh, could you tell us a little bit more about that experience? Would you mind sharing?
Okay. I had a problem with like reading comprehension problems.
Okay.
So I went to this really good school that I had like 3 teachers that were there to help me. Mm-hmm. And then I moved to New York because that was down in Delaware.
Okay.
And then when I got to New York, I had 2 different teachers for 3 different years, and it was all spread out, and they really didn't help me. And then I moved to the school I'm at now, and I've improved so much that they took me out of all of the classes, like extra help classes.
Nice. Okay. So it sounds like at one point you were in a school that tended to the needs that you had and took care of you and ensured that you got the services and the help that you needed. And then when you transitioned to another school, that kind of went away in a way. And it sounds like you may have struggled for some time, and then now you had to transition to this current school. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So absolutely. And so can you tell me, were there any sort of emotions that came to mind as you recounted that those times or those experiences?
I felt like I didn't matter as much as I did at my second school than I did at my first school and the school I'm at now.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And that's something that I think is important for us to acknowledge and to really think about, right? Sometimes the experiences that we have communicate that to us. And what I would hope that you would all understand is that you do matter, right? You do matter. You're important. There are people, and I mean, Nevaeh, you've experienced it, right? There are people who do care and want to help and want to ensure that you're successful. And sometimes it's just a challenge to finding those people. But I'm glad that you're getting that now, right? I think that that's crucial. And again, I think as it ties into this idea of self-care, it's important to understand what our needs are and where they come from so that we can then seek the support and seek the guidance. You know, that's why you have staff here that are present, right? You have the Upward Bound program. That's why they exist. They're there to help. That's what they want to do. They want to understand what it is that you need so that they can point you in the direction to help you get those services if they cannot then provide them themselves, right? And so it's important for us to understand those aspects of ourselves. That's self-care, right? To join, like to be part of the Upward Bound program because they're going to give you some help and some service. That's self-care. You're taking care of yourself by joining some and being part of a program that can help you to get to where you want to be, right? So absolutely. I'll leave time for one more. Anyone else want to share something that came up or stood out? I'll invite staff to share too. If you did the activity, you can share too. You can share a little bit, you know, you don't have to get too personal, but you can share. I welcome that. Nothing? Nobody?
I'll share.
Okay, Brianna, go ahead. Hit me.
So, for most people that like know me, they know like I wasn't originally born up here. I was born down south. And when I moved to New York, that was a major change for me because I moved from like my family and friends to a place where I didn't really know anyone. But like over time, I came out of my shell. I eventually made friends like my junior and senior year that I still have to this day. But I know that was a major shift in my life, like culturally and with my family, because it was like I was no longer around that safe space that I once had. So,
yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Brianna. But yeah, that is right. Feeling transitions are huge because you have this net or this sort of space where you feel connected, you feel safe, you feel seen, you feel known, and then to transition to another place where it's different, right? And now you have to adjust. You have to do this all over again. And the people that understood, they got you then. Now you got to go through that whole thing of trying to meet new people, and sometimes that can be scary, right? You know, this may not have applied to your situation, but I think of other people who may come from other countries, right? And so now there's the language barrier, right? My English isn't the greatest. And so now I get made fun of because of that, or, you know, I don't understand the slang or whatever the case may be, right? Transitions are difficult because unfortunately, sometimes people don't always accept difference, which is a problem that we have, right? I transition, now I'm thinking about race, right? That's a whole nother thing, right? And so sometimes that causes issues depending on where we are geographically and the demographic of our surroundings, right? I won't get, that's a tangent. I don't want to go that direction, but it's important for us to understand those things. And so I appreciate y'all sharing that, because again, understanding how these things have shaped who we are, the way that we see ourselves, the way that we see the world, and the way that we think and feel is crucial to self-care. It's crucial to seeking the help you need. And so I encourage all of you, I'll take a moment to encourage all of you that as you begin to think about your life story and as you begin to understand yourself, don't be afraid to ask for the help that you may need. Right. I mean, y'all are here. So that shows a big thing to me, right? Y'all are here. Y'all saw that Upward Bound was hosting this event for y'all and you showed up. And so that's part of the battle. But don't be afraid if you ever feel that you're struggling with someone to seek the support. Ask one of the Upward Bound staff, hey, I'm struggling. This is what I'm going through. You know, I'm sure they're more than willing to help and coach you and point you in the direction. Right. None of us ever have to go through these things alone. And oftentimes we do. We choose to some degree. And it may be scary at first, but believe it or not, that's what saved my life. You know, when I found myself in this place where I could have either ended up dead or in jail, I had to ask somebody for help because I had no clue what I was doing. And if I kept going at it by myself, I probably would have ended up in one of those two results. You know, and so I encourage you all certainly to reach out and ask for the support and the help. So we're going to transition a little bit again. All right. And what I want to share with you all is a resource. It's a resource to kind of help you all as you think about, you know, your life stories, you think about your current situations, you think about your goals, right? And you think about how that pertains to self-care. I have what's called a self-care inventory, right? I'm going to put a link to it in the chat. Let me know if you're able to access it. So I put a link in the chat, and it's to what I've designed. I've adapted it from another document, but it's a student self-care inventory. Staff could use it as well. It's not just for students. I tailored it towards students, but you could certainly use it with other students. And it's designed for you to kind of go through it and take inventory of the areas, different areas of your life where perhaps you practice self-care already, or perhaps you may want to practice self-care, right? So there's academic, right? Because remember, I talked about those different areas of our life. And so on that inventory, there's academic, there's mental and emotional, I believe. There is physical, there is spiritual, for those who may find themselves or believe that they're spiritual selves. And there's another one. I always forget the fifth one. I don't know why, but I always forget the fifth one. But there's these 5 different areas where you can sort of ask you questions and you can take inventory on whether you practice self-care or there's some things that maybe you haven't thought about. And you're like, wow, that's a good idea. I probably need to do this more in that area of my life. And so that's a resource for you all to use. You can complete it, you know, on your own today, and then maybe use it at another time and compare the answers to see, you know, how things may have changed. There's also a space there on the bottom for you to be able to write a goal for yourself, right? When it comes to, let's say, academic self-care, you know, here's something that I really want to try to do, right? Here's what I think I need to do more of. And write that down, because writing down things is powerful. You get it out of your head, you onto paper, and it can serve as a reminder. It also can help to release some of that and put it into the world so that it can come to life. You know, or when you think about social self-care, right? Here's something that I want to try. I want to challenge myself to do a little bit more. Were folks able to access that document? Okay, I see some head nods. So that means yes. Okay, Morgan said yes. Awesome. So yeah, that's just a tool for you all. I hope that you'll use it. It's something that I've found helpful even for me, right? And sometimes I'll do it every so often to kind of take a pulse and check, like, all right, what area of self-care am I kind of like not doing as good in as of recently in comparison to before? You know, because it may fluctuate. You may be really good in one area now, and you may not be as good in another area. So in closing, what I want to share with you all, because I realize we've only got a couple more minutes, is self-care is, of course, the best care, right? But understanding what that truly means. So the music, the journaling, the exercising, the yoga, the meditation, those are all amazing, amazing tools that we can use for self-care. But what I think is important for us to understand is what the deep depth, right? There's something deeper to it. When we're listening to music, there's a deeper healing factor that comes from that. And understanding what it is that we're seeking to heal and to work through is what I feel is truly self-care, right? Understanding what parts of our lives have shaped who we are and the way that we move through the world is crucial. And so I want to encourage you all to take some time as best as you can to do that. You know, I know that, I mean, this global pandemic, right, has changed our entire lives and has impacted us in a lot of different ways, right? The way that it's impacted me is going to be different from the way that it's impacted you, but it's had an impact. And we can't deny that. And so understanding what that looks like for us, how that shapes us is crucial. All right. Any questions, any comments, any reflections folks want to sort of share? I open the floor. I like to open the floor. I think it's important for us to create a space. I love holding space for people. So anything that comes up, anything that folks want to share? Any helpful tips or tools that folks might have that they want to share? You know, I don't got all the answers. You know, y'all might have some thoughts or some suggestions that might help me or someone else that I don't necessarily have. So anything, I leave the floor open for folks.
I'll just say that when you're thinking about how you're taking care of yourself, make sure you're surrounding yourself around people that are also treating you well and with respect, because a lot of how we feel about ourselves can be impacted by the people around us. So not saying you necessarily have to put certain people out of your life, but maybe you need to love certain people from a distance, and just make sure you're respecting your own space. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brianna. I love that. Yeah, it's crucial. It's crucial. We have to be conscious of who we allow to pour into us. You know, are they pouring some clean, good water, or is it a little fuzzy and got some, lead? I don't know. I was trying to think of what would be in water that's like not good. Right. But yes, absolutely. You know, and a lot of the times, I'll say this too, the people that are around us, they don't even understand what's at their core, right? And so they push stuff onto us and project stuff onto us and try to get us to do stuff that isn't necessarily in line with what we want for ourselves. But because we have our thing, right? So like, I use myself as an example, right? Because I got my thing of like wanting people to like me and wanting to fit in and wanting to feel like I'm connected. I might do things that I wouldn't otherwise do because if I don't do it, then they're not going to be cool with me. They're not going to be friends with me. They're not, right? But what they're asking me to do and participate is not even good for me in the long run, right? And so it's kind of like it's a downhill road either way. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's important to be conscious and mindful of, you know, who we're around. So thank you for that, Brianna. That's absolutely, you're right. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Any other comments, reflections, helpful pieces of insight? Nothing. Going once. Going twice. Y'all just waiting for me to say sold. Okay. Well, that's pretty much all that I've had for you all today. I want to thank you all again. I want to thank the Upper Bound staff for inviting me to share some time, some energy, and some space with you all here today. You know, I hope that this has been fruitful for you. I hope that you've walked away with some insight, some tools that can help you as you practice self-care. You know, remember, self-care is the best care. It's important that you take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You know, and I pray that the sun may always shine in your part of the world. I wish you much success as you move forward in your next endeavors. And self-care is the best care, y'all.